Hi guys, welcome to the third video on BaretoBrave. I'm honestly so glad that you guys dropped by today because I'm excited to talk about something that's everywhere right now, yet strangely confuses so many people. Exercise and weight loss. Surprise, surprise. It's one of the most talked about topics online. There's information everywhere reels, podcasts, 30-day challenges, and diet plans. But despite all that noise, I still meet a lot of people, especially women, who quietly struggle with one question: how do I actually make exercise a part of my life? How do I lose weight? How do I get thinner? Most importantly, how do I even start? And I get that why these questions feel overwhelming. Because so much of the discourse around exercise is centered on attaining a certain kind of body, the kind that's constantly sold to us in the media, like rapid transformations, crash diets, before and after pictures. And I hate this one: toxic gym culture that indiscreetly promotes obsessive fitness behavior in the name of discipline. And I'm going to talk much more about this in the later part of this video, so stay tuned. Okay, instead of asking, how do I get thinner? How do I lose weight? I want to be skinny. Maybe we should be asking, what is exercise really for? And who defines anybody's workout goals in the first place? Because what if being slim or skinny was never the goal of movement in the first place? I want to break down all of this for you, but not as a coach, as a nutritionist or a wellness guru. Think of this as coming from a friend, your friendly neighbor, who has been on this journey for the last 6 years. And it has been an uphill battle in terms of discipline and consistency to attain the best version of myself. So today, I want to talk about exercise from my own experiences, things like what changed in my mindset, what did I get wrong in the beginning, how I stopped chasing a certain kind of body and built an entirely new relationship with movement. I am going to talk all about that in this video, but before I begin, I just feel like sharing that I have been PMSing for the past 1 week now, and my period is just around the corner somewhere. I'm waiting for it eagerly. I just want this lethargy and laziness to end. So now I am going to throw in a bit of yoga into my day.
Bend the knees if that feels comfortable for you. Just stay where it feels good.
Whenever
Try
I'm
not to press
confused,
yourselves down
I do
or
yoga. And guess what? It works, man.
you
The
can still
rumors are
stretch
true.
here if you're breathing.
Welcome back, guys. It's pretty obvious that I have just taken a shower, before which I did a little bit of yoga powered by the beautiful Akshaya Agnes. So, guys, if you are looking to start some yoga and would like to access some online lessons, I would suggest Akshaya Agnes's channel. Her videos are super beginner friendly, and I have been practicing through her for a couple of months now. And trust me, it's kind of a life changing experience. But I would leave that to you for now and let you find on your own. So, let's get back to today's agenda. Okay, guys, before I start talking about weight loss and workout, here are some pictures of me that I want you to see. These are from my early to mid 20s, and as you can see, I was sort of skinny growing up, and being that skinny came with a sort of duality. For example, on one hand, I was made fun of for being skinny, but on the other, I was kind of envied for it. For example, some people would pass comments like, "Hey girl, do you even eat? You kind of look anorexic." Whoa. And listen to this one. This is something that probably every skinny person has heard. "You are so skinny, you would be blown away by a storm." And there was this different bunch of people who would say something like, "I wish I were as skinny as you." Or, "What do you do to maintain that body?" The comments lived on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And when you were as young as I was back then, you do not unfortunately have the emotional maturity to filter those comments. So you kind of just absorb everything that everyone keeps saying to you. Somewhere between all that noise, I never got the chance to decide for myself whether I even like my body or not. It was constantly being evaluated, commented on, and like it happens with so many young women, the negative comments far outweighed the positive ones. So I began to believe that I needed to put on more weight and start looking like a normal adult woman. And when I say weight, I didn't mean muscle mass. I had no understanding of body composition. I didn't know anything about fat percentage, strength, or the important health markers that decide whether you are fit or not. All I knew was I needed to look like a woman, and that's how maybe people would take me more seriously, and I would be spoken to if I walked into rooms. So naturally, in my mid 20s, I started to eat a lot more. But that was not intentional eating. It was just junk food, processed food, and random snacking at random times of the day. And then the pandemic happened. Like many of you, I was indoors, anxious, and uncertain about everything that was going to happen to all of us. I kept snacking randomly, partly out of stress and partly out of habit and boredom. Because somewhere in my head, I still carried the idea that I needed to look like an adult, and that can only come from eating more, regardless of what I was putting in my body. So, what I eventually ended up gaining was a lot of unhealthy fat, sluggishness, and a general discomfort that I constantly felt. And then one day, when I was standing in front of the mirror, I realized I wasn't liking what I was seeing in my reflection. I had become an unhealthier version of myself, and beyond the physical changes, I also felt a very strong disconnect from my body. I was constantly tired, I was constantly drained, and even a little bit of physical effort would leave me completely drained and breathless. All of that combined with a lot of pressure at work culminated in an overall unwellness inside me. And then I realized that something was deeply wrong with my physical health, with my mental health, and I felt that my body did not belong to me anymore. I had been treating it wrong, and all for what? Just because a bunch of people thought that I needed to look more like a woman. Fortunately for me, just a couple of months before the lockdown, I had moved in with my boyfriend, who is now my husband, and he had the emotional maturity and wisdom to gently intervene because he was a sole witness to my downward spiral, the low mood, the fatigue, and also the disconnect from my body. There were no gyms during the lockdown. Everything was closed, and we hardly had the opportunity to step out. But he encouraged me to start moving at home. So I started very small, basic stretching, understanding what a warm up was for, and getting familiar with the different muscle groups in my body. And I remember this very clearly. When I first started, I realized how little I knew about my own body, like muscles that I had never consciously activated before, like my calves, my traps, my tricep, and forget those. Even my back, chest, legs, thighs had been lying dormant for years. I had been living inside a body that I barely understood, and that summer was the beginning of building a new relationship with my own body. And yes, I did not need to go to a gym for that. Of course, I had an instructor at home in the form of my then boyfriend, but once I understood the basics, the importance of warming up my different muscle groups, I started progressing on my own. I eventually turned to YouTube for more advanced training, started doing body weight, calisthenics. Although I hated it, I also did cardio, and everything was going smoothly until I made some major mistakes. If you thought my journey had been linear and straightforward since I started working out, no, it hasn't been. I made a lot of mistakes. And the first one was I never defined my goal. Okay, I jumped into weightlifting, I did compound movements, I also bought some resistance bands and weights for home workouts. I wanted to get stronger, build more muscle mass, and also lose some fat. But the problem was, I did not have a starting point for myself. I did not check my body composition. I did not know my fat percentage. I did not have any idea about BMIs, and I did not know what was the situation when it came to my fat mass versus muscle mass. So I started lifting heavier and heavier. Yes, I gained muscle mass, but I also still had a lot of fat mass in my body. And on top of that, even if I did cardio on many days and told myself that, hey, I need to burn more calories, need to burn more fat, all those weight, all those fat would come back. Why? Because although I was training hard, I wasn't regulating what I was eating. Which brings me to mistake number two, not understanding the concept of calorie deficit. A calorie deficit simply means that you consume fewer calories than what your body is using on a given day. So it's a given fact that our bodies burn calories just to exist, to breathe, to think, to digest food, etc. And on days when you are performing immense physical activity like exercise, it burns even more. So if you consistently eat more than what your body burns, you gain weight. And on the other hand, if you eat less than what your body burns, then you lose weight. Simple. But having said that, maintaining a calorie deficit doesn't mean that you have to starve yourself or skip your meals and survive on just coffee and salad. No, never do that. It means eating enough to nourish your body, prioritizing your proteins, fibers, whole foods, macronutrients, micronutrients, but at the same time, avoiding overeating. And definitely cutting down on sugar and ultra processed foods. And coming back to my story, I was not following any of these rules. I was still eating a lot of junk food, and no matter how much I trained, the needle did not move for me. Then came mistake number three, and the most important one. I did not respect my menstrual cycle. There were days when I felt unstoppable, like super focused, strong, and ready to smash my workouts. And then there were days, like the luteal phase of my menstrual cycle, when my energy levels would significantly drop. And then, rookie mistake. On such days, I would either push myself too hard and burn out, or not move at all and feel absolutely guilty. And then that guilt would dangerously spiral. I would miss a few days of workout and then a week, then emotionally eat, feel anxious, and then start over dramatically. All because in my head, there was this rigid idea of what a real workout has to look like. Like for me, it had to be heavy lifting, intense cardio, compound movements, sweating, exhaustion. Those were the things that I equated with a good workout. And so, when on days my body did not have the capacity to do any of those, I felt like a failure. Then, over time, through trials and errors, I realized that there were other forms of workouts, other forms of gentler movements that were more suitable for my low energy days, like gentle stretching, yoga, and Pilates. And I've realized that even a 10-minute walk is better than doing nothing at all on days when you are not feeling up for it. So, yeah, I brought home the learning that a workout doesn't have to be only about looking toned or burning calories. It's more about mental clarity, mood regulation, reducing anxiety, and feeling connected with yourself and your body. And when you are PMSing or are just low on energy, a 10-minute gentle movement will do much more for you than a brutal leg day. And all of those realizations led me to believe that we really do not need a gym always. Okay, I myself have a gym membership and I visit the gym twice or thrice a week if I need more range of motion during my exercise. And I get it. If you want to progress and lift heavier, it's better to go to a gym because you do not have all the room in your house to store the equipments. But let's get real. Not everyone can hit the gym every single day because our days are pretty unpredictable and there are a number of things that need our attention on an everyday basis. Some days things blow up at work, your family needs you, you have your own personal emergencies, maybe you need to go to the doctor, or some days you were just mentally exhausted. So, probably on such days, your priority is not going to be showing up at the gym. Your routine may not look the same on two different days. Mine doesn't. And when I say this, somebody might come at me and say, but hey, this is what discipline is for. You need motivation, you need drive, you need consistency. I get that. And I agree with all of that, but only to a point. Because here's what I have learned. Look, discipline doesn't work if it isn't aligned with your real life. If discipline is disconnected from your actual schedule, your energy levels, your day to day responsibilities, it starts to feel like punishment. For example, if I have told myself that I need to work out or be at the gym at 7 a.m. in the morning every day, and then one day there comes this one morning or two mornings in a row where I need to be somewhere else at 7 a.m. And of course, I miss my exercise slot. And for the rest of the day, I end up feeling guilty. And then the guilt comes not because I did not move, but because I had broken a rule. And guilt is never sustainable, it's never a good motivator. So, if you are building a workout schedule based on rigid rules and timing, and it depends on whether you are at the gym or not, it's going to cause a lot of misalignment in your life. That's why I think, and this is what has worked for me over the years, more than being at the gym or training hard every single day, I think we need to prioritize movement over anything. Sure, when you have the time and energy, go to the gym, expand your range of motion, and train hard. I am all for progression. But when you do not have the time and energy, do not beat yourself up. And that's why it is so important to explore other alternative forms of movement like stretching, yoga, Pilates, which can be easily done at home in maybe just 10 to 20 minutes. It all really depends on how you're feeling on a given day, and trust me, you are the best judge of that. But wait, having said all of those things, you truly become a good judge only after you have showed up for yourself consistently. Move consistently every day to understand your patterns. If you keep doing that, you will learn the difference between genuine fatigue and plain laziness. Once you start moving, your body will start giving you honest feedback. It will tell you for real whether you need to go harder or genuinely slow down. And you know what? Exercise, workout, progression, all of those things are not just about lifting heavier, doing more intense cardio, or compound movement. They are actually about never opting out of movement and adding variation to your life. So never stop moving. And I know that beginning is often the most difficult part of any initiative. So, what I have done is I have added a few links to some really beginner friendly workout routine. So, please, for your own sake, check them out and take a call for yourself. I often come across these statements on social media which sound something like this: I was exhausted from yesterday's workout. I had barely slept. I just got back from traveling. I am sick, and yet I hit leg day. And every time I come across such content, I just feel so conflicted. Because on the surface, all of this looks like discipline. But if you go underneath, you will see that people are constantly at war against their own bodies. And I wonder, why is such self torture being glorified? Why are you at the gym? Why are you training hard if you haven't given your body any chance of recovery? And then I think about some of the people who might be watching such content on social media. What if you have a viewer who is chronically ill and cannot move? What if your viewer isn't supposed to be working out due to some medical condition for a couple of weeks or months? What message are we really sending them? Of course, pushing yourself builds resilience, but there is also a very thin line between resilience and self neglect. Why am I talking about all of this? I am talking about all of this because such obsession with rigid health standards, extreme performance, unrealistic body ideals are the reason why so many beginners and older people who want to join a gym feel unwelcome in the first place. And while we are talking about performance and standards, let's also touch upon this constant pressure to look like you belong in the gym, to always have the right shoes, to own matching sets, and buy expensive gears. Because why do I feel like that the modern gym culture gives more equity to one's appearance over their health and functional strength? And as a woman, I can especially feel this. What we wear or don't wear always becomes a subject of judgment. Sometimes that judgment comes from others, and sometimes that judgment comes from our own selves. And all that mental noise can actually distract us from why we went to the gym in the first place. Honestly, my friend, you do not need three different pairs of training shoes. You don't need a new matching set every month. Nada. You don't need expensive gear to validate your efforts. A few comfortable workout clothes, wash them, repeat them once a week, once a month. I don't care. I have one pair of shoes that I use for the gym, and I'm more than happy. I have maybe 2 or 3 sets of clothing. I'm happiest because when did the gym become a runway? It's not social performance. It should be a safe space where you go to build strength and become a better version of yourself, not just physically, but mentally. So, guys, I think I have covered most of the things that I wanted to say in this video. I mostly wanted to talk about exercise, workout, my journey, and how I have been able to build a sustainable routine around it. And if you are starting out or somewhere midway, please do not be hard on yourself. Have fun with it, be flexible around it, and build a sustainable schedule when it comes to workout because that's the only way you will be happy progressing and show up with consistency. I also want to talk about a lot of other things when it comes to workout and wellness, a very major component of which is food and building a relationship with your diet. But for that, I need to make a different video and I'll be soon working on it and it will be up on my channel one of these days. So stay tuned. Until then, take care of yourself, be nice to yourself, and have a great week. See you soon. I love you all.